Dr. Amar Patnaik.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Sir, as I stand here to speak on this subject, I am very proud to be speaking about a sector which is very close to my leader, Honorable Chief Minister of Orissa, Naveen Patnaik. The entire House, and I am sure the Honorable Minister, would join me in recognizing the kind of impetus he has given to hockey in this country. After 41 years, India got a medal in the Olympics because of the impetus that was given to hockey by adopting that particular sport by the state government for 10 years. And now the same kind of fillip is being given to other sports like football, like women's sports, several other sports. So it's very close to the heart of our state. And when people applaud the medal tally of, let us say, Haryana and Kerala, people forget that this is the new kind of incentive and incentivization that is required to be provided to sports in India. We have 17 AstroTurf being developed in the 17 blocks of Sundargarh district, because that's considered as the cradle of hockey in the entire country. This is the kind of incentive we have to do for, both in the infrastructure side and for sportsmen. Now, before I come to this topic, I must compliment the Minister that what he has brought to the House currently is something which is not only timely, but it would actually pitch India at a level higher than countries like Russia, countries like Italy, who are now topping in the world in terms of doping activities. We were inching closer to them. So this is a structure which has come in to make us more credible in the international sports arena, and therefore I support the bill. I compliment the Minister for bringing this bill. Before I get into some of the details which will come by way of suggestions, I would first make a broad comment about the design of this bill. And I would strongly urge the Honorable Minister to consider this. One of the most important aspects of this bill is the anti-doping testing laboratories. And they are listed under Chapter 7, Miscellaneous, Section 26 and Section 26(1), 2 and Section 27. Don't you think that this is the crux of the entire thing? Because our national laboratory was de-recognized. And therefore, this should actually find place of prominence as a prominent chapter otherwise in the entire design of the bill. And you could consider asking your ministry to look at this, because otherwise it doesn't give the preeminence that is required to be given to such laboratories. I will come to another point relating to the design of the bill once again, and that is the provision relating to the appeals panel, which says that the panel will consist of chairperson, a retired High Court judge, and a vice chairperson, a legal expert, and 4 members, medical practitioners. Now, there is a reference to medical practitioners in the entire bill. The point is, who is a medical practitioner? It's a very broad field. I think sports doctors or sports medicine, those who practice that should be categorically mentioned here, and those are the people who should be coming in here. Secondly, I have statistics, and it is very glaring that the International Journal of Pharmaceuticals, it has published in 2017 a report which says that out of 162 formulations, Ayurvedic formulations, which were tested, 16 had the presence of substance prohibited by WADA. 16 had presence of substance prohibited by WADA. Now, many of us, including our sportsmen, I take Ayurvedic medicines, I take homeopathic medicines, and we have cases here. I have a case here where the athlete said that she had taken that particular medicine thinking that it will increase her long-term immunity. Now, this is not covered in the entire provision of the Act. We cannot really cut and paste what the WADA has said. Our realities, Indian realities, are different, and that has to be factored into this particular provision. And therefore, my suggestion to the Honorable Minister is that we have the National Medical Commission, which has been set up now with 3 different verticals, one for allopathic, one for traditional medicines. If you have a representative from there in this appeals panel, then even if it is a question of having somebody taking the traditional medicines, he can evaluate it properly instead of blindly banning that particular athlete. The athlete's life is very small. Now I will come to some very concrete suggestions, sir. This is relating to awareness. Many of us have spoken about it. Many speakers before me have spoken about it. I would like to refer to one famous Cuban athlete who is the only athlete to have won the 400-meter and 800-meter Olympic in 1976. He says that you can tell your athletes, you tell your sportsmen, co-sportsmen, several things, but it is very important to have a policy for educating against doping. Awareness has not got the prominence that it is required to be given in the particular design of the Act. And this, I think, if it can be brought to the rules, I would strongly recommend that this could be done. Awareness is very important, because many of our sportsmen belong to communities or belong to families who are not that literate. So to expect them to know about the formulation of something that is being administered to them is actually very, very, tall thinking, I would say. The next point which I would like to mention is providing some kind of a legal aid to our athletes. Our athletes, if they are tested positive by various layers, then there is no how do they meet the legal challenge? So some kind of a legal aid assistance scheme should also be worked out for our athletes. We must realize that ultimately the bill or anything that we do for sports, the primacy should be given to sportsmen and not to policymakers. And therefore, everything should be done in keeping the interests of sportsmen in mind. The next point that I would like to make is relating to data protection. I think Honorable Basanji talked about it, but he said that there is no mention of it. Actually, there is a mention of it, and very strangely, the mention says that it would be made public. It is being legalized, legislated. I think that's a very retrogressive step, because until and unless the athlete has exhausted all chances, her or his name should not be disclosed to public. That is a change that I think has to be brought in. The last point that I would make with the minute that I have is relating to facilitating the therapeutic use of exemptions. I think the athletes have to go through a series of processes which are very difficult. They would rather train rather than go for this process. I think that could be simplified, and this simplification is possible if you can have some kind of a certification that this particular formulation is dope-free. You can ask pharmaceutical companies who are giving these tablets or giving these medicines to have this certification mentioned. And I think with the kind of impetus that we are giving everywhere to sports in the country, there would be pharmaceutical companies who would go in for this. We could actually attempt to try that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Sir, last minute. The point is relating to the selection process. The selection process of the Director General, many people have talked about many things, but I think the most important thing is at least a minimum qualification could be mentioned. You may not, because the government has the right to appoint, and the process of removal, it is there in all the government organizations, but minimum qualification could be mentioned so that, sports persons are not relegated to the background, as has been the allegation against Indian sports all this while.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Doctor.